everybody, so we've got a fun review today as we're talking Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the very first DC film to release in theaters since we got kind of an idea on what the future of DC will be with James Gunn at the helm. Of course, we still have no idea about these next few films, how they're going to work into the future of the DCU. Do they have a future? Does it really matter if we go see this film or Aquaman or The Flash? The future remains to be seen. We'll see how that goes. But for right now, I did want to go into this with an open mind, just because I did really enjoy that very first Shazam film. I had so much fun with that first film. It was lighthearted, endearing, and there was tons of potential to build upon, which at the time, I thought we were building up to a battle between Shazam and Black Adam, but based upon recent events, I have a feeling we're not going to get that confrontation between the two. Thankfully, now that we have the origin stories out of the way, we can focus so much more on the Shazam family as a whole, and they do dig so much deeper into their characters with this sequel. Most of the elements that made the first film such a delight to watch, I felt were amplified further here, focusing the story around the Shazam family, who continue to be so much fun. That family aspect is one of my favorite parts of the first film. Now we get to see them shine so much more in Fury of the Gods, in both their human forms and when they turn into superheroes, fighting alongside Shazam and embracing their characters and getting in on some great action sequences. And there's quite a bit of action all throughout the film. I'm glad that we doubled down on the action and gave us an interesting variety of different creatures along the way too. Some of them are a bit scarier than others, which kind of makes sense because it does fit into David F. Sandberg's horror background. Speaking of Shazam himself, both Asher Angel and Zachary Levi continue to bring a lot of charm to Billy and Shazam, bringing different dynamics to their performances, while the stakes are raised for each of them and the rest of the family. Much like in the first film, Shazam! Fury of the Gods finds a way to find that happy balance between an exploration of mature themes and tones, while also still managing to have some pretty great humor along the way. Of course, comedy is subjective, but more or less, I think if you liked the humor from the first film, you're going to continue to like the humor in the second one. It's very similar. I'd maybe even say Fury of the Gods is able to embrace the more fun, silly aspects to the character compared to the original film, just because a lot of Zachary Levi's dialogue in this is pretty funny. I mean, I feel bad for Billy because he's really going through it a lot in this sequel, but I can't help but laugh at some of the scenes that Zachary Levi has in this, just because they're hilarious. Not all the humor comes from Zachary Levi. Jack Dylan Grazer also has some pretty funny sequences too, but Zachary Levi probably has the funniest stuff in the movie. When it comes to the antagonists of the film, Lucy Liu, Helen Mirren, and Rachel Zegler, I found them all to be fairly solid foes. Their motives are very clear from the start as these scorned goddesses, and each of them bring a different thing to the table with their performances. Rachel Zegler's character has the most complex development of the Daughters of Atlas, while Lucy Liu kicks so much ass. It's also just great to see her in a film again, because I can't even remember the last time I saw her in anything. While I liked all three of them, if I had to pick a favorite one, I think Helen Mirren is my favorite of the bunch. She had some of my favorite scenes when them and the Shazam family are together, and put up a pretty good fight against the Shazam family in the third act, which is a pretty exciting final act, might I add, but it does kind of devolve into your usual standard third act in a DC film, which if you've seen enough films in the DCEU, you probably know what I'm alluding to. The big CGI third act. Sometimes the VFX aren't as great. I do think the VFX in general are much better, much more improved in this than the first Shazam, just because they are doing a whole lot more here. You know, you got like dragons, dark unicorns, stuff like that. All the stuff involving the dragon I thought was awesome. I'm a little biased because I'm really into dragons, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, but I think those are one of the big highlights to these big action sequences in Fury of the Gods. Even as someone that mostly enjoyed this sequel, I do think it is a little bit overstuffed just because there are so many characters. Some of them don't get a lot of screen time, which is really unfortunate. Out of this entire Shazam family, outside of Shazam himself, only Mary, I think, gets a really good storyline. It's such a tough task to try and juggle an entire family of superheroes along with multiple villains, and that is one of the struggles I think this film does have. There's also quite a bit of wonderful surprises along the way in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Unfortunately, you probably have seen a good chunk of them in the ad campaign, which isn't really the film's fault that they've pretty much shown a large chunk of the movie in the promotional campaign. It's more of the fault of Warner Brothers Discovery in the weird way that they're marketing the DCEU films now, because they did the exact same thing with Black Adam and the way that they teased Henry Cavill was going to be in Black Adam. Similar situation with Shazam! Fury of the Gods, so if you somehow have not been spoiled by certain things in the promotional campaign for this film, try and stay away from them until at least you see the film. They're great surprises. I mean, I saw it, unfortunately, beforehand. However, the surprise in this, I think DCU fans are going to be very excited for. I thought it was a very cool inclusion. We'll see how the future future of the DCEU goes with these characters that are involved in the film, because the film itself, you really have no idea still if they're going to be integrated into the future plans with James Gunn. It's certainly left open-ended on whether or not they continue to be these characters in the future. There are multiple post-credit scenes that also kind of hint at a potential future for the franchise, which could be pretty promising. Honestly, it does feel like us as an audience are going to be the ones that decide whether or not we want Shazam and the Shazam family to continue moving forward with box office, with critical reception, audience reception. All of that, I think, is going to play into it. And honestly, I think the sequel is pretty solid. It's one of those things that's kind of tough because you don't really know for sure if it's going to matter, which is kind of a tough mindset to have going into a film, whether or not it matters in the grand spectrum of this extended universe that's connected. But all around, I do think Shazam! Fury of the Gods is an adventurous sequel to the first Shazam. The heart, the charm, and the focus on family at the core of the film does keep the film entertaining while doubling down on the adventurous, ambitious superhero action. It's going to be very interesting to see what the reception for this film is going to be like. I hope it's positive, of course. Now you've heard my thoughts on the film. Make sure you share your thoughts down below. What did you think of Shazam! Fury of the Gods once you get a chance to check it out? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? Are you optimistic about the future of Shazam in the DC Extended Universe? Or do you not want him back at all? Do you think this should be the final installment for Shazam? We'll move forward without him for the future of the DCEU, maybe even get a recast down the line. Either way, sound off in the comment section down below all of your thoughts, because part of the funness is having that conversation with you guys in the comment section down below. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out the videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video, and also subscribe to the channel so you update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. But next time, I'll see you guys later.